one of us would do well on OnlyFans. The other one would be there.
Yeah, handed me a towel. Here's your robe, Mike.
I'm Justin Lesko, a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brown belt and former pro MMA fighter.
And I'm Mike Callahan, a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brown belt and a law enforcement officer. So you know that not all training partners are created equal.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone can be me, who is your dream partner.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of dream partners, it's not exactly you coming to mind, but I get what you're saying.
Well, I'm better than this guy.
It's a pretty low bar to clear.
Well, we put together a list of the absolute worst people to roll with, from smelly people to annoying people. We're covering all the bases.
Well, you know what else is annoying? The fact that I just keep buying more and more stuff from Epic Roll BJJ. Every time I'm on the site, it's more stuff. Every single time.
Well, it's a good thing that our code podcast15 gets you a sweet discount at epicrollbjj.com. And I'm not surprised you keep buying stuff because everything they have on there is great and they have so much of it.
So I've got t-shirts, rash guard shorts, joggers from there. I'm actually waiting on some art pieces, jiu-jitsu art pieces that I got for Diana J to hang in the bedroom. So,
oh, she'll be smitten with that.
yeah, she hates me.
She's not the only one.
Yeah. But for real, they have a ton of stuff. You've heard us talk about it on here before. Hats, shorts, shirts, pants, coffee mugs, all types of merchandise, artwork, anything you need. Just go to their website, check it out.
If you want to fill up your house like Mike is apparently doing, or if you just need new gear for training, visit epicrollbjj.com and use the code podcast15 for a discount on your order.
And don't forget to give them a follow on Instagram. You can find them at epicrollbjj.
Now to our list. I hope none of you listening or watching are on it, but let's have a look. Welcome to that Jiu Jitsu podcast. As of yesterday at 12:07 p.m., your boy is fully vaccinated from the COVID. 2 shots down, fully good to go. So
yeah,
should be back on the mat any day now.
If Amanda Jean can just keep that baby inside of her for a little bit longer.
There might be a short overlap between my vaccine coverage starts and then the baby hasn't been born yet, where I could get some solid training in. We had our own, me and you, sporadic training here and there a few times and sort of shut it down with a few COVID scares, waiting to get vaccines. Got vaccines, ready to go.
I'm going to have to start mopping the floors up again in the top secret training location, the secret dojo.
Now that your boy's got the vaccine, might be heading back to an actual academy and not have to just do secret training. I might be able to actually be on the mat with other people besides you. So with that being said, about potentially being back on the mat, I started to think about, some of my favorite training partners that, don't host the show with me, some other people in the world. But then I also started to think about some of the people who man, if I'm not just rolling with Mike, I might have to deal with this type of person or this type of person. So I came up with a good list. I know you have a few of the worst people to train with. And we're not talking about Joe Smith from whatever school.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I'll do that.
I got a list of that. I got a list of those.
I got a list of that too. I'll play that game. I'll play that like Lionel Richie. I'll play that shit all night long. We'll be here till midnight. But yeah, so just so we're clear, we're gonna be identifying types of people.
It's like an archetype.
Yeah,
okay. That's a word that you might not understand, but most listeners will.
Hold on. One of our this show's co-host has a master's degree, right?
Yeah, my wife has one. It's downstairs.
Okay, but she's not a co-host. All right, I'm sorry. You know what? There's an empty space back here. I might just have to hang some certificates up there next time.
One of my least favorite types, and I think this is a big one for people who, as a lower belt, I didn't realize how annoying it was, but now as an upper belt looking down at the lower belts, the non-coach coach, the person who wants to tell everyone how to do a move or give a tip constantly about what to do or what not to do. If you're not actually instructing the class, just let the instructor talk. Don't interject constantly.
It's funny because I just saw it recently. So we were uh, we were out of town training, and me and Fish were out of town. We went to an academy, and so Fisher's been training for longer than I have, but he trained with Schulmans and everything, so he's never really got rank in
Like a legitimate, like
like
a
with
legitimate
right,
jiu-jitsu rank.
right. But like, so if he puts on a white belt out of respect for the gi and everything, but if you put him against white belts, he fucking runs through him. So it's
Yeah.
deceiving, but it is what it is, right? Because he's never gotten a blue belt. So he's rolling with somebody who's got a higher rank, and I'm watching it happen, and Fisher it starts working like a rubber guard on him, and the dude starts trying to pass, it's obvious what's going to happen. Like he's either going to Fisher's either going to go into omoplata on him, or he's gonna sweep him. And the guy immediately starts telling Fisher what to do. You know what I mean? Because he
Yeah, yeah,
sensed it
yeah.
too. He was a higher belt, but so he sensed it too, and he's telling Fisher what to do, and it was so obvious. Like I just started like chuckling behind him. I wasn't like rolling at that minute, so I had to like from my viewpoint, like I saw everything. So those people who you're talking about tend to be those same people who want to coach you through. Like if they're in a bad spot, they'll use that as an excuse. Like, oh, you do this better. I'm like
Yeah.
When Fisher and I got in the car, I was like, this guy's telling you to do this. I said when he didn't know how to get out of what you were doing to him before.
Yeah, but you see that a lot with like the purple belt who doesn't want to get submitted by the blue belt, or the brown belt that doesn't want to get submitted by the blue belt or the purple belt. Like something's close, they can sense they're about to get tapped. So now it's like, oh, if you do this a little bit differently this way, like the guy already he had you already, but now you're making it look like you're coaching, so it doesn't look like you got tapped by a lower belt.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's like you're coaching during the role that is not necessary, and you're now talking over the person who's actually instructing the class. Like if I'm instructing a class and they're drilling, and then someone is teaching like, well, he showed it this way, but I like to do it this way and try this and this. Like, shut up,
Yeah,
dude. Just
yeah,
like shut up. Sort of along the same lines is the it's just a crank guy. Like the guy you choke somebody,
bro.
you get a nice rear naked choke, and as soon as they tap, immediately the first words are, "Oh, it was good, but it was more of a
Bro,
crank than a choke. It was more of a crank."
this
As if that's
this
different, as if that's like somehow like you didn't get caught with it. You still got submitted,
yeah.
whether it's a crank or not. But
So two things on that. I forget what it was. I think it was Gordon Ryan's first match at the 2019 ADCC, and Zanji was calling his match, and he was like, "Oh, he's just gonna choke his face here," and they were like, "Well, it's still a strangle. Like Danaher will still refer to that as a strangle. You know what I mean?" But I get what you're saying. I actually had something similar happen very, very recently to me. I was on somebody's back, um, just a really tight collar choke, um, and I got up after the tap, and they were like, "Oh, it was on the face. It was on the face."
yeah, does it matter? You still tapped though, right? So like, I mean, this one, everyone has run into a smelly guy, but the smelly guy that doesn't wash his gi guy, the guy who throws his gi in the trunk of his car after one training session and gets it out before the next training session and puts it on. Don't be that guy. Wash your gi.
Yeah, we've said that. We've commented
Hygiene's a
on
big
that.
thing for us on this show. We're big
Yeah,
into
I
hygiene.
mean, like
I don't want the MRSA.
just just wash your gi, wash yourself.
I've had
You
enough
know.
infections in my life. Did I ever tell you the time I broke my arm and got the infection in my arm? Somewhere on this list is the guy who keeps talking about his injuries, but not really.
I don't even know.
There's two related to injuries that I have, and in both of these cases, I think of two specific people. I know you're going to think of the same two specific people, and we'll talk about their names off camera. But the first one is the always injured guy, but he's not really injured. He's fake injured. Just when you think like you're about to pass a guard and it's, oh, my knee, give me a second. And then they wait like 1 minute and they start again, but you
Yeah.
start neutral. You don't start with the pass.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Or
Oh yeah.
do you know who I'm talking
Oh
about?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That always bugs me because it's like, bro, if anyone was injured as much as you're injured every single round, allegedly. You're not actually injured. Just suck
Yeah.
it up and admit the fact that a lower belt passed your guard. That a lower belt was going to get you with an arm bar. You said, "Oh, that's my injured arm. Hold on, hold on, hold on," and then somehow start neutral because your arm
Yeah. Oh, your
is
arm's healed.
injured. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one bothers me. On the other side, the actual injured guy who's always injured all the time, and before you start the round is like, "All right, watch out for my knee, my left shoulder, my lower back. I got a couple naggy things, so we should be good." But then you start the rounds,
They're going 100 miles per
they're
hour.
going 100 miles an hour.
I'm all for people who want to train through injuries, right? As long as you're doing it smart. And I'm also totally fine with people letting their training partners know if something's hurt. And if somebody tells me about that, like, I'm totally cool with it. I'm not going to go, like, we're not in a fucking tournament. If we're, like, here's another thing. If you're in a tournament, all bets are off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to say in a tournament, like, hey, don't, but, like, if something's
Right.
heavily taped in a tournament, or all bets are off. You're right. You're
Sleep
competing.
the leg.
That's number one. Number two, I can't wrap my head around, like, people who will say, like, my wrist or my shoulder or my knee, and then, they're shooting for a fucking double across the mat, and you're like, you literally just shot on the knee that you told me.
Yeah, if something is injured and you're going to train around it, like, yeah, absolutely. Tell your partner. And if you don't have a dick of a training partner, they're not going to attack that. But if you're always injured to the point where you have to tell every person more than two things that are bothering you, maybe you should shut it down for a little bit because it's no fun rolling with someone who should be rolled in bubble wrap before they come on the mat. So maybe just know your limitations and back it down a second.
I agree.
You had said about like, I'm not going to go a million miles an hour at you, which brings me right along to the quote unquote world champ, where every match in the training room is like the finals at the worlds, and every match is like I'm trying to kill everyone around me. Not always the best.
I feel like we're pretty similar in the fact that we let other people dictate the pace.
Right.
If somebody wants to go a million miles per hour, like, I'm good with it, it kind of puts them at an advantage to start, because, and as with anybody we roll with, because we kind of let them set the pace. At United, not really so much with that, because we're starting from the feet, so you're wrestling, but at other places where you're starting from the knees or you're starting from your ass, like, I just kind of I go at the pace of others. So if they want to go a million miles per hour, I'm fine with it.
Well, it's just knowing your audience. Like, if you and I are training, I know that we're gonna go at a pretty intense pace. Like, that's just how we train. When I was fighting, if you and I were rolling, you knew that I was coming to prepare for a fight that meant
Right.
a lot to me, so I was going to come hard at you and I expected you to come hard back at me. But if I was rolling with a blue belt who was 45 years old, probably wouldn't trash them the same way I would come at you.
Right.
It's just knowing your audience. So if you're going to be the guy who wants to go a million miles an hour, go with the other people you know are comfortable training at that pace.
I had started training at NPR, and Danny Morrow was the head coach there. Danny said to everybody, he said it like sternly, and it made a ton of sense. He was like, listen, like, it's your responsibility to train to a certain level, right? So if you're competing for a world championship, like, yeah, you can say no to people as they come to you and ask you for rounds, right? And at the same time, like if you're seeking to get better, like it's your responsibility to seek out higher belts and not sandbag it with the lower belts. So at the end of the day, it's ultimately on you. You have the ability to say no to people if you're training for a specific competition and it's game time and you need to get better. Like you should be training with people either of equal or higher skill sets. So there was a lot of truth to that. Like I took a lot away from that. It was like a little bit of a rant that he gave to everybody, but he was 100% right. Like if you don't want to drill with somebody, if you don't want to roll with somebody, and you have, if you're heading in a different direction, say no. Seek out the people that you want to roll with that you think are going to help you do whatever you're trying to do.
Well, I've always approached it. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I've always approached it where I have two mentalities. If I'm at the fundamentals class and we're rolling after the fundamentals class, I will roll with anyone. If I'm at the advanced class, but there's some lower belts there and I have something I'm preparing for, I know who on that mat I want rounds with and how many I want. And if you're at the advanced class, you should be aware already of that. Like, I don't say hierarchy because that implies, I don't know, has a bad connotation to me, but like that culture of, I'm sorry, I don't want to roll with someone who's 4 divisions below me in a blue belt. I'm trying to
Yeah.
get ready for pans. I'm gonna roll with only the black belts.
Right.
And again, it's all in the way you approach it. Like if someone comes up to me and is like, "Hey, can we roll?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm not rolling with you." Dick move. But if someone's like, "Hey, do you want to roll?" I'm sorry, man. I have specific rounds that I have to get tonight. Yeah. I'll catch you on the next one. I think that's okay.
I always too, like if you walk into a room and you see that there's 2 black belts and 1 brown belt and like 6 blue belts, like you have it in your mind like that you're gonna roll with the black belts and the brown belts as a brown belt. I'm speaking directly to my mindset, or my mindset going into this. When you walk into a room, and it's not the case at places like United or Movement Art, like where Danny is, or it like that's like Murderer's Row, every role. But like if you go in there and you see that there's teenagers and like you have to have a lineup in your head set,
Right.
And it's not a dick move if you're telling people no,
right?
Because at the end of the day, like you know in your mind what needs to be done to get better, and it's not going to be rolling with a 13-year-old, green belt. I don't even,
Yeah. But I think it's also, you should also be aware too, if you're training for world championships and you're at the fundamentals class, that class isn't for you.
Yeah.
You're beyond that. If you're a brown belt or purple belt, brown belt, black belt, and you're at the fundamentals class, like even as if someone's a purple belt and they're at the fundamentals class, you're one of the higher belts, and these lower belt people want to roll with you because you're good. That's their time. And this is just my take on it. I'm sure other schools have different cultures and different mindsets, but the fundamentals class is for the people who belong in the fundamentals class.
Yeah.
And the advanced class or open mat is a different mindset going in. So let's get back to our list. We got sidetracked with that one.
Well, before we do that, when you're in the it's just knowing your audience too. When you're in the fundamentals class, like that you're not necessarily going in there with the expectation that you're gonna greatly, you're gonna get pushed to the brink.
Right.
So, but yeah, I get it. I get it. The opposite of that, I guess, would be, when you get these bigger guys, and I mean just big guys who are points players in the practice room and just want to get on top and stall out around, so you're stuck for 6 minutes. And I understand what people are going to say. They're going to say it's your responsibility to get off the bottom, and I agree. But at the same time, we shouldn't be playing for points in a practice room.
Exactly. And if it's a tournament and you're doing the absolute division, you get an ultra heavyweight on top of you in side control, it's your job to recover.
Right.
In the practice room, who's benefiting from stalling out in side control? Neither of us. Move, man. Just move. Just try something.
Yep.
Even if you're attacking me and I get tapped, just move. Just make something happen. Just move.
Yeah. Yep. Again, bottom guy's responsibility to get out, Neither one of us are going to debate that, but at the same time, nobody's benefiting from that in a practice room. We're not fucking playing for points in a practice room. We're not giving out fucking medals in a practice room. I'm kind of passionate about this.
I see that.
I've had some experiences.
I think we've all had some experiences. This is why this person is on our list. But I have one that I think might be slightly controversial.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
So
But
buckle in.
we're not a controversial podcast, not yet at least.
No. We're not a political podcast, but controversy maybe. I have nothing against wrist locks in general, but the wrist locker is a person who can be annoying to roll with because, in my own personal experience, the wrist locker only goes for wrist locks. That's all they want. And if they can't hit the wrist lock, they don't do anything. It's not a good round. It's a boring round because all they want is wrist locks.
Am
I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I wrong in anything I just said?
Yeah, I mean,
Tell me
it's
I'm
not
wrong.
all they do, but I mean, it's if somebody has a like wrist lock focused game, then yeah, there's a high propensity for them to just continuously go for wrist locks.
Wrist lockers are definitely worse than leg lockers. And leg lockers are not even on my list, and they better not be on yours either.
No, they're not, but I don't really like, if I get caught with a wrist lock, I can't tell you the last time I got caught with a wrist lock. Now saying that, and there's some guys at United that have some wicked fucking wrist locks. I'm telling you, but I haven't got caught in a wrist lock in a long time. I'm always conscious of it. I don't know why. I'm always conscious of it. But if people sell out for these wrist locks, I feel like it opens up a lot of positions. And same thing with leg locks. Especially people who don't really understand the leg lock game, and they just start diving for legs. I feel like, I'm at the point now, and I know you are, where it's just we can kind of turn that into the start of our offense.
Hey guys, just want to take a quick break from the show to let you know what's coming up soon on our Patreon so you don't miss out on any of that bonus content.
Yeah, so for starters, this week, if you're on our Patreon account, you'll be able to see our blooper reel. We put that out every month, and it's some pretty good content. So check that out. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
Nobody doesn't like the blooper reel.
Right.
Also coming out in the next few days on Patreon is a Patreon exclusive episode. This one is a deep dive all about Lloyd Irvin and Team Lloyd Irvin.
I was out saving the world one night. Justin put this whole thing together. He just sent it to me. It is crazy good. It's some of the best. Yeah, you're welcome. Hopefully, that's one and only compliment you're getting tonight. But anyway, it's crazy good content.
I say it in this deep dive. You're either on this guy I want nothing to do with team, or you're on the I love this guy and being a part of his team, and there is no middle ground. So it's going to be a little controversial, but we think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, we're stepping outside the box. The show's stepping outside the box with
stepping into controversy outside of the box.
We'll leave it at that. Be sure to check out the link to our Patreon account. It's in the description below, and you can get tons of bonus content for as little as $3 a month. So again, go check that out. And now back to the show.
In fairness, this one shouldn't be the wrist locker. It should be the one trick pony, the person who only does one thing, and if they can't do that one thing. But I
Justin
wanted to make
wrist
fun
lockers.
of wrist lockers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Team leg locker all day.
I just want to let everyone know that I don't share all of Justin's views. So when the army of wrist lockers comes and starts, this is Justin's fight. I'll just watch it from the sidelines. I'll sit this one out.
Bring it on, wrist lockers. Bring it on. I'm ready for the wrist lock armada.
You remember Friends episodes? How like they were always. Did you watch the show Friends?
I did.
And how every episode was like the one with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this little tidbit can be the one with the guy who never taps.
Right. The one with Brian White.
Yeah, Brian White never taps. Never taps. I shouldn't say never taps, but Brian White's a stubborn tapper. He don't give out taps. He makes you earn those
It makes you
taps.
earn them. Yeah.
But there's I've rolled with people like Brian's not like we've broke Brian's balls about it for years, but we've like there's people that are really bad at it. You know, the people that are like putting you in a bad situation because you're like, are you trying to get hurt? You know,
Yeah, do I have to break your arm because you won't tap, or do I have to let go because you won't tap? Like those are my only two options, and I'm not trying to be a dick in the training room
yeah, I'm not
because
gonna break anybody's arm in the training room.
if I
You
break
know,
your arm in the training room, the
oh,
story is Justin broke your arm in the training room. It's not, oh,
Yeah,
so and so refused to tap and Justin was just working the arm bar and it broke. The story is Justin broke so and so's arm bar or just broke so and so's arm in the training room, and that's not the story I want.
if you've trained long enough, you've either been a part of you've been involved in a role where you got something popped or you popped something, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not it's that shit happens on its own. You don't need to assist it by being stubborn. You know, that shit just happens in the normal flow of jiu-jitsu. You don't need to up the likelihood of that happening by being stubborn.
Were you there when I broke that kid's ankle?
No, were you there when I broke the guy's arm with it wasn't I feel like we sound like assholes talking about this.
I know, I know.
No, but I popped a guy's arm in just a basic Americana, and it was years ago, and I felt terrible. But like I didn't even crank it. I swear to God, who's ever listening to this, I didn't even crank this fucking arm. It was seemed like a freak thing. It scared the shit out of me. Brian White was like walking around because he had taught the class, and I'm like, oh,
Uh,
Brian. And I'm like just holding the guy's arm. I'm like, Brian.
no, I don't remember that. When I broke the kid's arm, it was when I broke the kid's ankle, it was in a tournament, and
Tournament, yeah.
I just hit a toe hold, and it wasn't a situation where I was like I had it locked on and
It
I
was
was
a
cranking it.
it,
It
it was a
was
rolling
I
toe hold.
I
It was a
I rolled
rolling toe.
through. I rolled through, and it was almost as soon as I connected my hands, as soon as I put pressure, his ankle just like disintegrated in my arms, and it was
What
like
happened? What happened? What was the end result of that?
I think I lost by
Like
disqualification,
disqualification, right? Okay, cool. Because of the rolling toe hold.
which was told to me
I think
was
we were.
legal in the rules meeting.
I think we were. I think we were blue belts when that happened.
Yeah, we were blue belts, and it was I don't remember which tournament it was, but it was a tournament where in nogi it was like leg locks are good to go.
Yeah.
And I was a blue belt, but I was doing like advanced or expert or whatever one so that I could do the leg locks. But because I was a blue belt, they disqualified me, even though I was in the appropriate no-gi division for that. So I got disqualified. That was the match to go to the finals. The kid obviously couldn't compete because his
'Cause you
osteoporosis ankle was
permanently disabled
shattered.
him. I wonder if he has a
And
podcast. In every episode, he talks about the guy who hurt him. Wouldn't
he
that be
should
cool?
because I'm a
Wouldn't that be cool if he
you
if
could
he
listen to
partnered
both back to back.
if he partnered up with his better looking, funnier friend,
Who
smarter
got their
friend.
arm broken in a Americana at Revolution Academy.
No, this
Um,
oh, yeah, but it's him and the guy that I did, the guy
Yeah.
who's on. They have their own podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's just called the Jiu Jitsu Podcast,
Yeah.
not that Jiu Jitsu Podcast.
They have like triple our listeners.
What if they did? What if they did have that? That'd be really funny.
So anyway, so I'm in the finals and I had just gotten disqualified for the toe hold, but the guy couldn't compete, so they let me go to the finals. And then in the finals match, the dude started working for an inside heel hook against me. And while I was defending, I was complaining to the referee that I was just disqualified for a leg lock, like what's going on here, like as the match was happening. The ref called over another referee from the next mat over, and I have two referees talking to each other while I'm defending a heel hook. Then Anthony is like half on the mat arguing. The guy eventually got the heel hook and he set out, and I just tapped because I'm not going to keep fighting a heel hook because that's stupid. They pulled up like the video on the iPad that the guy's friends were recording, said that it was a heel hook, but still let it go for whatever reason. And I was livid because you just disqualified me for doing a leg lock, and then I just got beat by a leg lock. But
For those
I'm
of you
not
who
bitter
don't,
about it at all after
yeah,
5 or 6 years. I'm not at all bitter.
for those of you who don't know, Justin has a tendency to argue with referees during his matches.
Yeah. Dude, that amateur fight that I had where
Yeah,
the ref called the fight, I was beating the brakes off this dude for 2 rounds. The fight should have been stopped for a TKO in the second. In the third round, with 1 minute left, the guy drops for an armbar. My arm was straight, but I was rolling out of it like I was doing like
that's
hitchhiker.
on YouTube.
I was doing the hitchhiker escape, and the ref just stopped the fight. And I argued with him. Anthony argued with him, like, bro, have you ever taken a jiu-jitsu class in your life? Like, just because an arm is straight, this is an MMA fight. This isn't a teens Naga tournament where you're trying to protect somebody's arm. Like, all right, back to our list. You keep going on these sidetrack.
He
tangents,
stopped it.
but
If he didn't stop that fight, maybe that guy would have broke your arm too, and then I would have had to heard it. I would have to hear it twice as much.
it was the same arm too. Same
Ah,
left arm.
Jesus.
Only separated by like 5 or 6 years, but maybe 4 years, 3 years. All right, so I have one more on my list, which I should have naturally stopped because we just went on 2 tangents, but I have one more on my list that I think it's important to discuss. The I saw it on Instagram guy. The person who doesn't know what they're doing, but saw some flying technique on Instagram and comes in and without ever drilling it or trying it or really understanding what's happening, hurt somebody because they saw it on Instagram.
The game's changing to the point that content is available everywhere. It's not just available, on the mat in class. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. We're proponents of it. We think that it helps your game, but don't just pull this shit out of your ass in the middle of a roll. If you see Gordon Ryan doing something, in the finals of ADCC, don't walk into class on Monday and try it for the first time live.
There is very, very good stuff on Instagram. I'm an Instagram person. I love Instagram. I enjoy all of the elements of jiu-jitsu Instagram, seeing technique, interacting with listeners of our show and people from jiu-jitsu. There's also a lot of technique that is dangerous if you don't actually know what you're doing. And a little insider info for you. If you're trying to grow your Instagram, putting up very basic content, people aren't watching that. You have to
Right.
put up flashier things or more interesting things.
Speaking of growing interesting things,
Are we going to talk about your beard?
have you noticed about my? Have you noticed?
I've noticed your beard. Yes, I have noticed your beard.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
If you're looking at Kent Peters' Instagram,
Subscriptions about to go through the roof.
if you're looking...
Anyway, unrelated news. We'll be starting an OnlyFans account for that Jiu-Jitsu
Dude,
podcast.
I mean, one of us would do well on OnlyFans. The other one would be there.
Yeah, handed me a towel. Here's your robe, Mike. Hello, ladies. I'll have you know that Justin's here today. He drove me.
He's the one behind the camera.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird.
Back to what we're talking about. If you're on Kent Peters' Instagram, Kent Peters has fantastic content on his Instagram. And a lot of it, if you're a white belt, you shouldn't do. You just shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
He has really good content where he does a lot of, he'll give you tips and stuff on small details. Yeah, apply that to your game. But he posted the other day, like the ankle pick to the saddle to a heel hook. Don't do that if you're a white belt. You don't have any business doing that technique. Like, let's take a little bit of time to make sure we know what's happening in the video and why before we do it. And I think Kent Peters would agree with me.
Yeah,
Kent Peters is the man on Instagram. I think he would agree with me.
Yeah, and Snapple fact 234 about Kent Peters. He has a enormous ranch farm up in Canada that he's essentially offered to Justin and I whenever we want. And
Got that vaccine now.
Justin's allowed to leave the country now. So
I don't know if Americans are allowed to leave the country just yet, but I take your point.
I mean, yeah, we're ambassadors, Justin. We're ambassadors of the gentle art. Okay, so we
true.
can go wherever we want and that includes to the beautiful farm of Kent Peters, I believe, in Nova Scotia.
I believe you're right.
Kent,
well, so we have a list
Kent,
of...
we'll see you tomorrow.
No, we won't. Let me run the list down for you and the listeners, all right? The non-coach coach, it was just a crank guy, the smelly guy, the always injured for real guy, the always fake injured guy, the guy who treats every round like the World Championship Finals, the heavyweight who doesn't move, the wrist locker, the guy who never taps, and the I saw it on the gram guy. All right, so we have our list of 10, all right? You can pick 3 of them that don't exist anymore. So 3 of those 10, they're gone. They don't exist on the mat. They're out of the universe. The other 7 you still have to deal with. Which 3 are the worst ones on this list that you would want to get rid of forever?
The points player in the practice room, that drives me crazy. So them. The guy who will fake an injury to avoid losing. I got no time for that either. And the other, like, I feel like a douche saying this, but I just like, I'm a clean freak, man. So like the people who don't wash their gis and shit, I got no time for that. So I just, so those are my 3 that if I had to just dismiss a certain type or people with certain habits, like that would be it. I
agree on the smelly guy. Get out of here, man. Wash your gi. Just
wash yourself too.
Wash yourself too, for sure. Smelly guy's got to go. The non-coach coach, the guy who won't shut up, you got to go too, with a caveat of if you're faking it so that I don't beat you. If you actually are imparting knowledge on me and I'm learning from you and it's improving my technique, coach me all day long. But if I'm beating you and you're pretending to coach me, no time for that. So smelly guy, non-coach coach. The heavyweight who won't move off of side control, who's just trying to stay there and rest, I guess.
Yeah, the points player. Yeah.
You're wasting my time. I'm not getting better. You're not getting better. It's a waste. So smelly guy, non-coach coach, heavyweight side control.
Yeah.
You're out.
See ya.
Wouldn't want to be you.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. So we've put links below to our social media accounts. If you want to follow us individually or if you want to follow the show, give those links a click and check them out.
Make sure you check out Epic Roll at epicrollbjj.com and use the coupon code podcast15 to take 15% off of your order. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to us on OnlyFans.
Just saying.
JK. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We have a lot of content coming in the next few weeks. You don't want to miss it, so make sure you're subscribed.
Say, fear the beard.
I do have a very nice beard, thank you. Fear Justin's beard, thank you.
I didn't. Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Guys. We'll see you next time.